The massive chamber aboard the stellar Dominion flagship glowed with an eerie purple light. Captain James Miller stood alone on a circular platform, his blue Earth Diplomatic Corps uniform stark against the dark metal floor. He kept his back straight and his face calm, though sweat trickled down his spine. Before him loomed the 20-foot holographic image of Empress Vex, ruler of the largest empire the galaxy had ever known. "Human," the Empress said, her voice deep and cold. Her scaled face showed what Miller had learned to recognize as disgust. "Your time of independence ends." Miller had prepared for this meeting for months, but the sight of the Empress still made his heart race. Her body was covered in iridescent scales that shifted from deep blue to purple. The crown of bony plates on her head rose in agitation. Her 4 yellow eyes blinked sideways in turn, never all closing at once. "Empress Vex," Miller replied with a small bow. "Earth wishes to continue our peaceful trade agreements. We have honored all treaties." A rumbling sound came from the Empress, something between a laugh and a growl. "Peace is for equals. Your species is not our equal." The hologram shifted, showing a map of human space. Earth glowed blue at the center, with its 17 colony worlds spread across 20 light-years. Red dots appeared, marking human defensive stations and ship positions. "The Dominion has watched you for 50 years, Vex continued. "Our spies have counted every ship, every weapon, every soldier. Your fleet has exactly 200 vessels. Impressive for such a young species, but nothing compared to Dominion might." The map zoomed out, revealing the vast stretch of Dominion, territory surrounding human space on 3 sides. Then thousands of red markers appeared, representing the Dominion fleet. Miller's mouth went dry at the display. Not because it was frightening, but because it confirmed what Earth Command had suspected. The Dominion's intelligence was exactly as limited as they had hoped. "Your species has 1 standard rotation to surrender your worlds," the Empress declared. "Our armada of 5,000 ships stands ready. This is mercy. Accept our rule, and your people may continue their existence as productive subjects." "And if we refuse?" Miller asked, already knowing the answer. Vex's upper lip curled, revealing teeth like polished black daggers. "Then we will take your worlds anyway, and your people will serve as an example of the cost of defiance." A tall figure stepped into view beside the Empress, her military commander, Krell. His scales were darker, almost black, and his eyes were cold. "Our first attack fleet is already positioned," Krell stated. "Your outer colonies would fall within hours. Earth itself within days." Miller took a deep breath. This was the moment Earth Command had planned for. "Empress, surely there's no need for such threats. Humanity has never challenged Dominion authority in the galaxy." "Your very existence is a challenge," Vex hissed. "Your kind spreads too quickly, thinks too differently. Other species begin to question our rule after observing your independence. It cannot continue." "I request time to bring your demands to Earth's government," Miller said, following the script he had memorized. "1 rotation," the Empress repeated. "Not a moment more. The decision is simple: surrender or destruction." The hologram vanished, leaving Miller standing alone in the chamber. A door slid open and 2 Dominion guards entered to escort him back to his ship. As he walked through the massive Dominion flagship, Miller observed everything he could. The guards were large, nearly 8 feet tall, with the same scaled skin as their Empress. They carried energy weapons that could vaporize a human in seconds. Other crew members moved with purpose through the corridors, none giving the human diplomat more than a passing glance. They thought humans were no threat. That was exactly what Earth needed them to think. Miller's small diplomatic vessel waited in the docking bay. Once aboard, he nodded to his pilot, Tom Reed, who immediately began launch procedures. "How did it go?" Reed asked quietly as the ship detached from the Dominion vessel. "Exactly as expected," Miller replied. "They're overconfident. They believe their intelligence is perfect." The small ship moved away from the massive Dominion flagship. At over 3 miles long, it dwarfed anything in the human fleet. The official human fleet, at least. Once they were clear of immediate Dominion sensors, Miller went to the secure communications room. He pressed his palm against a scanner, then, leaned close for a retinal scan. The system hummed, then opened a quantum-encrypted channel that not even the Dominion could detect or decode. Admiral Helen Davis appeared on the screen. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her weathered face showed the strain of recent weeks. As head of Earth's Defense Force, she had been preparing for this moment for decades. "It's time," Miller said simply. Davis nodded, her expression grim but determined. "Operation Shadow Fleet is go. Get back to Earth space immediately. We'll need you for the next phase." "Were they convinced?" she asked. Miller allowed himself a small smile. "Completely. They think we have 200 ships exactly as we've let them believe. They have no idea what's waiting." "Good," Davis replied. "Safe journey, Captain." The communication ended, and Miller leaned back in his chair. Humanity had spent 30 years building their real fleet in secret. While showing the galaxy a small force of 200 ships, they had constructed thousands more in hidden facilities deep within the atmospheres of gas giants. Places the Dominion sensors couldn't penetrate. Ships with technology the Dominion couldn't imagine. For 3 decades, Earth had maintained the appearance of a minor power while preparing for this inevitable day. The Dominion had conquered 17 other species. Humanity would not be the 18th. Reed's voice came through the intercom. "Captain, we have Dominion ships following at a distance. Standard procedure?" "Yes," Miller confirmed. "Let them follow. When we reach the jump point, execute emergency pattern Delta." "Understood, sir." Emergency pattern Delta would make it appear that their ship was rushing home in panic, exactly what the Dominion would expect from a species that had just received an ultimatum. Miller stared out at the stars. In less than 24 hours, the Dominion would learn that humanity was not what they seemed. The thought of Empress Vex's face when she realized the truth brought him a moment of satisfaction, but that feeling quickly faded. What was coming would change the galaxy forever. Thousands might die, or millions, unless humanity's plan worked perfectly. As his ship accelerated toward Earth space, Miller closed his eyes and hoped that 30 years of deception would be enough to prevent a war that neither side could truly win. But if war came anyway, humanity was ready. Empress Vex paced across the polished black floor of her war chamber. Her clawed feet clicked with each step, echoing in the vast room. Around a large holographic table stood her top military commanders, their scaled bodies tense as they waited for her next words. "Show me the human defenses again," she ordered. Commander Krell touched a control, and the 3-dimensional map of human space appeared above the table. Earth glowed at the center, surrounded by its colonies. Small blue dots marked the positions of the human fleet. Exactly 200 ships spread thin across their territory. "Their deadline expires in 1 hour, Empress," Krell said. "They have made no attempt to contact us, no surrender." Vex's mouth twisted into what passed for a smile among her kind. As expected, humans are proud for such a young species. She turned to her intelligence officer. "Your reports are certain? They have no hidden forces?" Intelligence Officer Mox bowed low. "Absolutely certain, Your Eminence. We have monitored human space for 50 years. Their military budget, their shipyards, their resource allocation, all of it confirms a fleet of exactly 200 vessels. They cannot hide such things from Dominion intelligence." Vex nodded, satisfied. The Dominion had conquered 17 other species over 10,000 years. None had stood against them for long. Humans would be no different despite their reputation for cleverness. "Begin the attack sequence," she commanded. "Target their outer colonies first. Show them the price of defiance." Commander Krell moved to obey but stopped suddenly, his eyes fixed on the display. "Your Eminence," he said, his voice uncertain. "We detect unusual energy signatures from the gas giants in 3 human systems." "Explain," Vex demanded. "Jupiter, in their home system, Titan near their Alpha Centauri colony, and the gas giant orbiting Epsilon Eridani," Krell reported. "Deep scans show disturbances in the upper atmospheres." Vex dismissed this with a flick of her taloned hand. "They're pathetic attempts at deception. Weather control, perhaps, to try to confuse our sensors. Begin the attack. Wait, Officer Mox cried out suddenly, his eyes wide as he studied his data screen. Massive power spikes detected in all gas giants across human territory. The holographic display flickered. Then, impossibly, new contacts began to appear. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of new ships emerging from within the gas giants of every human system. The room fell silent as the Dominion commanders stared in disbelief. The new vessels were unlike any known human design, sleek, dark, and radiating power signatures that rivaled Dominion dreadnoughts. Impossible, Krell exclaimed, breaking the silence. Where did they hide such a fleet? Vex stared at the display, her 4 yellow eyes blinking rapidly. Count them, she ordered, her voice low and dangerous. Officer Mox worked frantically at his console. 3,147 vessels, Empress, still more emerging. Impossible, Vex roared, slamming her fist on the table. No species could hide such a force from us. Your intelligence has failed, Mox, the intelligence officer trembled. Empress, we monitored their shipyards, their resource allocation, You monitored what they wanted you to see. Vex snarled. She turned to Krell. Analysis of these ships now. Krell studied the incoming data. Unknown design. Power readings exceed our battle cruisers. Hull composition. We cannot identify the material. They appear to be using some form of gravity manipulation for propulsion. As they watched, the human ships formed precise formations throughout their territory. Not the chaotic scramble of a force hastily assembled, but the disciplined movement of a fleet that had trained for this moment. How long? Vex asked quietly. How long have they been building this force? Based on the number of vessels. Decades, Empress, Krell replied. Perhaps 30 years. 30 years of deception, Vex whispered. Then her face contorted with rage. Open a channel to their command. The holographic display shifted, and Admiral Helen Davis appeared. The human woman sat calmly in what appeared to be a command center, her gray hair pulled back, her uniform crisp. Empress Vex, Davis said with a small nod. I see you've noticed our defense force. What treachery is this? Vex demanded, rage evident in her bared teeth and flared neck crest. You concealed your true military strength. Not treachery, Davis replied calmly. Prudence. The Dominion has a history of conquering species that cannot defend themselves. We simply ensured we could. Your diplomatic vessel has just returned to Earth, Commander Krell reported quietly to Vex. Captain Miller is aboard their command station. As if hearing this, the view widened to show Captain Miller standing beside Admiral Davis. He had changed from his diplomatic uniform to a military one. Empress, Miller said, for 30 years your intelligence services saw exactly what we wanted them to see. A small fleet, limited technology, while we built our real forces in places your sensors couldn't penetrate. The gas giants, Vex growled. The storms and radiation, Miller nodded. Perfect cover for our shipyards. Your sensors couldn't see through the atmospheric interference. We built our fleet in plain sight, yet completely hidden. Vex's claws dug into the edge of the table. You will regret this deception, humans. The Dominion fleet still outnumbers yours. We have 5,000 ships to your 3,000. Quality matters as much as quantity, Empress, Admiral Davis replied. And there's something else you should know. The display changed to show a close-up of one of the human vessels. It was dark, almost black, with sleek lines and no visible weapons. Our ships don't use the same technology as yours, Davis explained. We took a different path. While you focused on plasma weapons and particle shields, we developed gravity, manipulation, and dimensional phasing. Dimensional phasing? Krell whispered, his scientific curiosity briefly overcoming his alarm. That's theoretical. Not for us, Miller said, not anymore. Vex slammed her hand on a control, cutting the transmission. She turned to her commanders, rage radiating from her scaled body. Prepare the fleet, she ordered. All of it. We will crush these deceptive humans and make an example of them. that the galaxy will never forget. Empress, Krell said cautiously. Perhaps we should reconsider. If their technology is truly as advanced as they claim, are you afraid, Commander? Vex hissed. Krell straightened. No, Empress, but I recommend caution. We should test their capabilities, first with a smaller force. Vex considered this, her rage gradually cooling into calculated malice. Yes, a test. She pointed to the display, where the human ships continued to take formation. Send the first attack fleet to their outermost colony. Let us see if these mysterious ships can actually fight. As her commanders rushed to obey, Vex stared at the frozen image of Miller and Davis on the screen. For 30 years, the humans had deceived the mighty Dominion. For 30 years, they had prepared in secret. You have played a dangerous game, humans, she whispered to the silent image. Now we shall see who truly rules the stars. Admiral Helen Davis stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, the flagship of Earth's hidden fleet. The ship hummed with power as it held position near Earth's moon. Through the large view screen, she could see hundreds of the sleek, dark vessels that humanity had built in secret over 3 decades. Captain James Miller stood beside her, still adjusting to being back in a military uniform after years of diplomatic work. Around them, the bridge crew worked at their stations with practiced efficiency. Admiral, called the sensor officer, a young woman named Lisa Park. All ships reporting ready. Total count, 3,247 vessels awaiting your command. Davis nodded, her face calm despite the weight of the moment. 30 years of planning, building, and training had led to this. The greatest deception in human history was now fully revealed. The Dominion will not take this well, Miller said, quietly. They were never going to, Davis replied. From the moment they discovered humanity, they marked us for conquest. We just refused to be easy prey. The communications officer turned from his station. Admiral, incoming transmission from the Empress. On screen, Davis ordered. The image of Empress Vex appeared, her scaled face twisted with rage. The bony crest on her head was fully extended, a sign of extreme agitation among her species. Humans, she snarled. What treachery is this? You concealed your true military strength. Davis met the alien ruler's gaze steadily. We revealed exactly what we wanted you to see, Empress. The Dominion has conquered 17 species in the past 10,000 years. We studied those conquests carefully. You target weak civilizations or those that appear weak. So you deceived us, Vex hissed. We survived, Davis corrected. Your empire has a clear pattern. You send spies and observers first. You assess potential targets for years. If they seem unable to defend themselves, you conquer them. If they seem strong, you leave them alone. Miller stepped forward. I spent 7 years as a diplomat to your court, Empress. I saw how you treated species you deemed weak. We knew our time would come. Vex's yellow eyes narrowed. How did you hide such a fleet? Our sensors mapped every inch of your territory. Davis allowed herself a small smile. Not every inch. Gas. Giants like Jupiter and Saturn have powerful magnetic fields and constant storms. Perfect cover for our hidden shipyards. Your sensors couldn't penetrate them. We built our real fleet where you couldn't see. On a secondary screen, Davis could see tactical data showing a Dominion battle group approaching humanity's outermost colony. Just as Earth Command had predicted, the Empress was sending a small force to test humanity's capabilities. It changes nothing, Vex declared. The Dominion still has more ships, more experience. We have ruled the stars for 10,000 years while your kind was still using stone tools. Numbers aren't everything, Davis replied, and experience can breed overconfidence. Your ships may be numerous, but they are untested, Vex said dismissively. Mine have conquered countless worlds. Then I suppose we'll find out soon enough, Davis said, nodding toward the tactical display showing the approaching Dominion ships. Your attack force will reach our colony at New Horizon within the hour. Vex's expression shifted slightly, surprised that the humans had detected her ship so easily. We would still prefer peace to war, Empress, Miller added. Even now, The galaxy is vast. There's room for both our civilizations. Peace, Vex scoffed. After this deception, the Dominion does not share power. Your choice remains the same. Surrender or destruction. The transmission ended abruptly. Davis turned to her crew. They're not backing down. Signal Battle Group Alpha to defend New Horizon Colony. Execute Operation First Strike. As orders went out across the human fleet, Miller looked at Davis with concern. The Dominion attack force consists of 200 ships, their newest and best. Are you sure Alpha Group can handle them alone? Davis nodded confidently. Alpha Group has 50 of our Phantom-class vessels, more than enough. It's time to show the Empress what our ships can really do. Far from Earth, at the edge of human space, the colony of New Horizon orbited a distant star. It was humanity's newest settlement, home to just 50,000 people. Above the blue-green world, 20 Dominion battle cruisers and 180 support ships appeared from faster-than-light travel. Commander Trey Bennett of the UES Ghost watched from the bridge of his Phantom-class vessel as the Dominion ships formed attack positions. Around him, 49 similar human ships waited in perfect formation. They were smaller than the massive Dominion battle cruisers, but their dark hulls seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Enemy ships launching fighters, reported his tactical officer. They're beginning their attack run on the colony. Bennett nodded calmly. Activate dimensional phase shields. Bring gravity weapons online. Let's show them what these ships can do. Across the human formation, the dark ships began to glow with a subtle blue light along their hulls. On the lead Dominion battlecruiser, Commander Ralek watched with contempt as his forces moved toward the human colony. The strange human ships were holding position, making no attempt to intercept. Pathetic, he said to his second-in-command. They don't even try to protect their colony. Sir, called his sensor officer with concern, I'm detecting strange energy readings from the human vessels. What kind of... Before Ralek could finish his question, the human ships vanished. Where did they go? He demanded. Unknown, Commander, they've disappeared from all sensors. Suddenly, alarms blared across the Dominion ship. 5 human vessels appeared directly alongside Ralek's battlecruiser, impossibly close within his shields. How did they... Ralek began, but his words were cut short as blue beams of energy shot from the human ships. The beams didn't explode or burn. Instead, they distorted space itself around the Dominion vessels. Gravity pulled in impossible directions. 3 Dominion cruisers were crushed into twisted metal. 2 more spun helplessly as their artificial gravity reversed. Across the battlefield, the human ships blinked in and out of normal space, appearing inside the defensive formations of the Dominion fleet. Their gravity weapons didn't need to penetrate shields. They warped space-time itself. On the UES Ghost, Commander Bennett watched as the Dominion forces tried desperately to counter their attack. But the Dominion ships were fighting an enemy they couldn't track, using weapons designed for a type of warfare that humans had moved beyond. Sir, his communications officer reported, the Dominion commander is broadcasting a retreat signal. Bennett nodded. Let them go. Our orders are to defend the colony, not pursue. As the surviving Dominion ships fled into faster-than-light travel, Bennett opened a channel to Earth Command. Admiral Davis appeared on screen. Report, Commander, she ordered. Complete. Success, Admiral, Bennett replied. The dimensional phase technology worked perfectly. They couldn't track us, couldn't hit us, their shields were useless. We neutralized 47 enemy ships. No casualties on our side. The remaining Dominion vessels are retreating. Davis nodded, satisfaction in her eyes. Well done, Commander. Return to defensive positions. This was just their first test. The real battle is yet to come. As Bennett's crew celebrated their victory, he knew the Admiral was right. They had surprised the Dominion today, but the Empress would not take this defeat lightly. The true test of humanity's deception, and their new technology, was still to come. Empress Vex's war chamber had gone silent. The holographic display showed the devastating defeat of her attack force at the human colony. Of the 200 ships she had sent, less than half had returned, many of those badly damaged. Impossible, Commander Krell whispered, breaking the silence. How could they defeat our best ship so easily? Vex's rage had cooled into something more dangerous, a cold, calculating fury. Show me the battle recordings again, she ordered. The display changed to show the battle from multiple angles. The strange human ships disappeared from normal space, then reappeared inside Dominion formations. Blue beams distorted space itself, crushing Dominion vessels without ever touching their shields. Analysis, Vex demanded. Science Officer Lorne stepped forward nervously. Based on the recordings, Empress, the humans appear to have mastered dimensional phasing. They can shift their ships between dimensions, allowing them to bypass our shields entirely. And these weapons? Vex pointed to the blue beams. Gravity manipulation, Lorne explained. They don't attack our ships directly. They warp gravity around them. No shield can block that. Vex's claws tapped on the table's surface. Can we copy this technology? Not quickly, Lorne admitted. Their approach is completely different from our own. They've taken a path of development we never explored. Then we will crush them with numbers, Vex declared. Prepare the main fleet. All 5,000 ships. We will overwhelm these humans with the full might of the Dominion. Commander Krell shifted uncomfortably. Empress, perhaps we should consider their offer of peace. If their technology is this advanced, Vex spun toward him, her neck crest fully, extended in rage. Peace? After they humiliated the Dominion? After they made fools of us all? No. They will be destroyed, and you will lead the attack, Commander. Krell bowed low. As you command, Empress. Aboard the UES Defiance, Admiral Davis and Captain Miller watched the tactical display as the remaining Dominion ships retreated from New Horizon Colony. They'll be back, Miller said quietly, and in much greater numbers. Davis nodded. We're counting on it. That's why we revealed our fleet now rather than waiting longer. Miller looked confused. I don't understand. Walk with me, Davis said, leading him from the bridge into a private meeting room. Once the door closed, Davis activated a holographic display showing the entire galaxy. The Dominion has ruled through fear for too long. Other species suffer under their control. We've been in secret contact with 7 of them over the past decade. Green dots appeared across the display, marking worlds far from Earth. The Arcturians, the Vega Collective, the Free Systems of Rigel, Davis pointed to each, all waiting for someone to stand against the Dominion, but none have the technology or numbers to do it alone. Miller began to understand. So our battle at New Horizon was broadcast across special channels to our allies, Davis confirmed. They now know the Dominion can be defeated. When Vex sends her main fleet against us, she'll leave her core worlds vulnerable. A coordinated rebellion, Miller whispered. While the Dominion focuses on us? Davis smiled grimly. Exactly. But first, we need to survive her next attack. 3 days later, the massive Dominion fleet arrived at the edge of human space. 4,800 warships prepared to crush the upstart humans once and for all. Commander Krell stood on the bridge of the flagship, surveying the armada. He commanded. Even against the humans' mysterious technology, such overwhelming numbers would surely prevail. All ships report ready, Commander, his second-in-command announced. Krell nodded. Begin the advance. Target Earth directly. Cut off the head, and the body will die. The enormous fleet moved forward in perfect formation, a testament to the Dominion's 10,000 years of military tradition. As they approached the outer edges of the Sol system, human ships appeared ahead, a mere 300 vessels facing the might of the Dominion armada. They send so few to oppose us? Krell laughed. Perhaps they've realized the futility of resistance. His tactical officer studied the sensor readings with concern. Sir, these ships are different from the ones we faced at New Horizon. Larger, more power readings. Before Krell could respond, the space around the Dominion fleet distorted. Massive waves of gravity rolled through their formation, throwing ships off course and disrupting their careful battle lines. What's happening? Krell demanded. Unknown gravity distortions, Commander, the science officer reported frantically. They're coming from Jupiter. The massive gas giant that orbited Earth's sun was glowing with strange blue energy patterns across its swirling storms. The human ships weren't attacking. They were simply holding position. They're using the planet itself as a weapon, the science officer realized with horror. They've installed gravity generators throughout Jupiter's core. The Dominion ships struggled against the unpredictable gravity waves. Hundreds of smaller vessels were crushed or thrown into collisions as space itself became their enemy. Press. Forward, Krell ordered. Ignore the distortions. Target those human ships. The Dominion fleet fired thousands of energy beams toward the human vessels. But as the beams approached, they bent and twisted, missing their targets entirely. They're bending our weapons fire with gravity fields, the tactical officer reported. Krell slammed his fist on his command chair. Launch all fighters. They can't distort so many targets at once. 10,000 Dominion fighters streamed toward the human ships. As they approached, 300 new contacts appeared on Krell's tactical display. Small, fast human fighters launching from the larger vessels. Unlike the Dominion fighters, which relied on speed and energy weapons, the human craft were nearly invisible to sensors. They phased in and out of normal space, appearing inside the Dominion fighter formations, causing chaos and confusion. On the bridge of the UES Swift, one of humanity's carrier ships, Commander Tanya Lee watched her pilots tear through the Dominion fighter screen. Tiger Squadron, watch your phase timing, she ordered over the tactical channel. Remember your training. 3 seconds in normal space, then phase out. Don't give them a chance to lock weapons. Yes, Commander, came the response from Tiger. Leader, their fighters have no defense against our phasing. It's almost too easy. Lee frowned. Stay focused. There's nothing easy about this battle. On her display, she could see the massive Dominion fleet struggling against the gravity weapons built into Jupiter. Earth Command had spent 15 years hollowing out sections of the gas giant to install enormous gravity generators. The planet itself had become humanity's greatest weapon. Meanwhile, aboard the UES Defiance, Admiral Davis and Captain Miller watched the battle unfold. The Jupiter gravity defense is working better than expected, Miller observed. Davis nodded. For now. But look, their largest ships are adapting using counter-gravity fields to stabilize. Indeed, the massive Dominion dreadnoughts were slowly pushing through the gravity distortions, adjusting their fields to compensate. It's time for Phase 2, Davis decided. She opened a channel to all human ships. All vessels, execute Operation Sunburst. Across the battlefield, the human ships suddenly broke formation, accelerating toward the sun at incredible speeds. Commander Krell watched with confusion as the human fleet retreated. They run toward their star? Cowards. His science officer looked up from her console, eyes wide with alarm. Commander, I'm detecting massive energy buildups within the human ships. They're doing something to the sun. As the Dominion fleet watched, unable to pursue quickly through the gravity distortions, the human vessels formed a perfect ring around Earth's star. Blue energy beams connected each ship to the next, creating a complete circuit. What are they doing? Krell demanded. His question was answered as the surface of the sun erupted in a carefully controlled solar flare, a massive tongue of plasma directed straight toward the Dominion fleet. Evasive maneuvers, Krell shouted, but it was too late. The solar flare engulfed the front third of his fleet, overwhelming shields and melting hull metal. Hundreds of ships vanished in the stellar fire. As the flare dissipated, Krell stared at the damage report in shock. Over 1,500 Dominion vessels destroyed or disabled in a single attack. They've weaponized their star, his science officer whispered in awe and horror. For the first time in his long military career, Commander Krell felt true fear. The humans weren't just defending themselves. They were fighting in ways the Dominion had never imagined possible. Empress Vex must be informed, he said quietly. We need to regroup and reconsider our approach. As he gave the order to withdraw, the surviving ships, Krell wondered if the mighty Dominion had finally met its match. Empress Vex stood alone in her private chamber aboard her personal warship, the Eternal Dominion. The massive vessel, 12 miles long and carrying enough weapons to destroy an entire planet, had moved to the edge of human space. Outside her viewport, the remnants of her once proud fleet gathered, 3,000 ships remained of the original 5,000. The reports from Commander Krell had been difficult to believe, yet the evidence was undeniable. Humans had technologies the Dominion had never imagined. They had turned planets into weapons and bent starlight to their will. "Empress," her aide called softly from the doorway. "They are here." Vex turned, her scaled face showing no emotion. "Send them in." The doors slid open to reveal Captain James Miller and Admiral Helen Davis. They entered without escort, walking calmly into what might have been a trap. Their confidence infuriated Vex, but she kept her anger controlled. "You requested this meeting," Vex said coldly. "Speak." Miller stepped forward. "Empress, this war can end today. No more ships need be lost, no more lives sacrificed. You think because you won 2 battles you have won the war?" Vex scoffed. "The Dominion spans 1,000 worlds. We can build more ships. We can gather more forces. This conflict has barely begun." "It's not just about our battles," Davis replied. "While your main fleet attacked Earth, other things were happening across the galaxy." She activated a small device, projecting a galaxy map into the air between them. Red dots representing Dominion worlds flashed across the display. 7 hours ago, the Arcturian Conclave overthrew Dominion rule in their home system, Davis explained, pointing to a cluster of stars. 5 hours ago, the Vega Collective did the same. 3 hours ago, the Rigel systems declared independence. Vex stared at the display, her 4 eyes widening slightly, the only sign of her shock. "You coordinated this," she realized. "You planned this rebellion." Miller nodded. "For 10 years we've been in contact with species under Dominion rule. We shared our technology with them, helped them prepare. They just needed to know the Dominion could be defeated." "Traitors," Vex hissed. "Freedom fighters," Davis corrected. "People tired of living under the boot of an empire that takes everything and gives nothing in return." Before Vex could respond, the doors to her chamber opened again. Commander Krell entered, followed by several other Dominion leaders. Their expressions were grim. "Empress," Krell said, bowing slightly. "We're receiving reports from across Dominion space. 27 systems have declared independence in the past 12 hours. Our forces are stretched too thin to respond to all of them." "And there's more," a new voice announced. Everyone turned to see a holographic projection appear beside the humans. 7 figures materialized, representatives from different alien species, each wearing formal diplomatic attire. "I am Council Leader Exor of the Arcturian Conclave," announced a tall, slender being with blue skin and silver eyes. "We have observed these events with great interest. Humanity has demonstrated that your empire is not invincible. The balance of power has shifted. We have formed a new alliance," added another figure, a golden-skinned being with 4 arms. "The Free Systems Coalition. Already 112 worlds have joined our cause." Vex's crest flattened against her head, a sign of extreme distress among her kind. "This is unprecedented treason," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Miller stepped forward again. "It doesn't have to be war, Empress. We're offering a different path. A new galactic accord where all species, including the Dominion, have equal standing. Where trade and cooperation replace conquest and subjugation." He placed a data crystal on the table before her. "These are our terms. Fair terms. The alternative is a war that might last decades. You might win eventually, but at a cost too terrible to contemplate." Vex stared at the crystal for a long moment. In her 10,000 years of rule, no one had ever dared to offer terms to the Dominion. Yet here she stood, facing not just humanity but a coalition of former subjects who now possessed technology that rivaled or surpassed her own. "Commander," she said finally, "your assessment of our strategic position?" Krell stepped forward, his military training evident in his precise movements. "Empress, we face a multi-front conflict against enemies with technology we do not fully understand. Our supply lines are compromised. 23 shipyards have been captured by rebel forces. If we commit to full war, the cost would be—" He hesitated. "Unprecedented." Vex's rage still burned, but her survival instinct was stronger. The Dominion had ruled for 10,000 years by knowing when to strike and when to adapt. "Leave us," she ordered her commanders. When they had gone, she turned back to the humans and the alien representatives. "Speak plainly. What do you really want?" Admiral Davis met her gaze. "A galaxy where power is balanced, where no single species dictates to all others, where we can all advance together rather than at each other's expense." "And if I refuse?" Vex challenged. "Then we fight," Davis said simply. "Our ships can phase between dimensions, our weapons manipulate gravity itself. We've turned planets and stars into weapons, and now we've shared these technologies with your former subjects." Miller's expression softened slightly. "But that's not what we want, Empress. War benefits no one in the long run. History has taught humanity that bitter lesson many times." For a long moment, Vex was silent, calculating her options. Then, with a movement that surprised everyone present, she picked up the data crystal. "I will review your terms," she said. "The Dominion has survived this long by adapting when necessary." 3 days later, representatives from 28 species gathered on neutral ground, a space station orbiting a star at the borders of human and Dominion space. The Eternal Dominion hung in space nearby alongside the UES Defiance. Inside the station's grand conference chamber, Captain Miller watched as Empress Vex pressed her clawed hand to the document before her, the Terran Accord. It would restructure power across the galaxy, limiting the Dominion's authority while establishing protections for all member species. Admiral Davis signed next, representing Earth's unified government. Then, one by one, representatives from the newly freed worlds added their signatures or marks. When it was done, an expectant hush fell over the chamber. Empress Vex rose to her full height, towering over the human representatives. "Let it be known," she declared, her voice carrying to all present, "that the Stellar Dominion honors its agreements. A new age begins today." As the gathering broke into muted conversation, Miller found himself standing next to the Empress. "Your deception was masterful, human," Vex said quietly. "For 30 years you prepared for this moment." Miller nodded. "We learned from Earth's history. Appearing weak while building strength is the surest way to deter aggression. We never wanted war, just the ability to prevent one." Vex's mouth twisted in what might have been a smile. "Perhaps your species has wisdom after all. The Dominion adapted too slowly to your emergence. That will not happen again." "Is that a threat, Empress?" Miller asked calmly. "A recognition," Vex replied. "The galaxy has changed. We must change with it." As the Empress moved away to speak, with other delegates, Admiral Davis joined Miller by the viewport. Together they looked out at the stars, the same stars that humanity had nearly gone to war for, now secured through a combination of strength, deception, and ultimately, diplomacy. "Do you think it will last?" Miller asked quietly. Davis shrugged. "Peace is never permanent, but we've created something unprecedented, a balance of power that makes war too costly for anyone to attempt." Miller smiled slightly. "From hiding ships and gas giants to rewriting the galactic order. Not bad for a species that the Dominion thought was easy prey." "The best deceptions," Davis said, "are the ones that lead to truth in the end. We pretended to be weak to avoid war. Now we've revealed our strength to secure peace." Outside the viewport, ships from 24 species moved in careful patterns, no longer enemies, not quite friends, but bound together by the new reality they had all helped create. The deception that had saved humanity from subjugation had become the foundation for an unprecedented era of peace among the stars.